was almost a really devastating weekend for Cousin Sal, who finally lost his Sports Center pick. He had the Cardinals plus 6.5, and Ryan Lindley had to suffer through that. Then looked like he was going to suffer through a Dallas catastrophe. And then you wired that check to the refs. Things turned around. Congratulations.
I know you're just trying to get under my skin, but I'll go along with it. You don't actually think there's any collusion there or anything weird, right?
No, I just think it was one of the most inexplicable calls in the history of the NFL that I've watched. I've been watching for 40 years. I've never seen them call the pass interference and then pick up the flag. I've never seen the guy actually announce the penalty and then pick it up.
Well, it's not. But if one official doesn't understand the rule as well as the head official, like let's say you're about to ground your son for like eating dirt or something. You say, "That's it. I've had enough." You're grounded for a week, and then your wife says, "Hey, listen, we have this Dave and Buster's thing in a few days, and I'm carpooling, and it's just weird if he doesn't go. So can we make it 3 days?" That's it. So you talk things over, and then you get it right. So that's exactly what happened in the game yesterday.
I'm fine with the talking it over, but then why did the guy announce the penalty as they were talking it over? That was weird.
I don't know.
That seems shaky.
Well, isn't it about getting it right, though? Isn't it about getting it right? That would have been a ticky-tack call. The guy, I mean, if anything, the contact was drawn when Pettigrew grabbed Hitchens' face mask, and they say, well, Hitchens never turned for the ball. It's like, yeah, because the guy's got hold of his face mask. That's why he didn't turn for the ball. So, I don't know.
I had no dog in this race because I was losing my Dallas pick anyway.
Right.
I thought it was pass interference. First of all, he was face guarding, but he also had his arm on the guy's arm. There was a lot of contact. He definitely he made it so that illegally the guy had more trouble catching the pass than he should have, which is pass interference.
But it's not. But you have to give ground. You have to come back to the ball. You're allowed to face guard in the pros. So, and if there was any contact, like I said, I think he was just trying to rip his head free from the guy's grasp of the face mask. But I just don't understand why this is the most anything's been made of a penalty with 8 minutes left in the game. The Lions, Matthew Stafford would have had to drive down and score a touchdown, something he hadn't done. They scored 3 points all half. So he really needs a touchdown to win that game. Everyone's so sure that he's going to pull that off. And how dare anyone say that Roger Goodell's fixing it? How about the flag that they picked up earlier in the week? How about Dominican Sue playing this game? This fat criminal being allowed to play this game. It's outrageous that he's playing. What about that flag that was picked up? And we made that criminal cry in the press conference in the post game, and that's why we're going to the Super Bowl. Right there. That's the reason.
And he's going to come back next year in the Giants, and you get to face him 2 times a year for the rest of your life.
And we'll make him cry again and again and again. Jason Garrett went for it on 4th and 6. The call that I didn't agree with at the time, but God bless him. I talk about a franchise-changing play. I think that might have been it. 21 yards to win.
Well, the 2 biggest winners yesterday from everyone going crazy about that call and for that becoming the picked-up flag game, which I really think is how we're going to remember that game. Jim Caldwell, big winner because he didn't have the balls to go for 4th and 1 on the Dallas 46-yard line.
Right.
You're a Dallas Cowboys fan. There's 8 minutes left in the game. They've been running the ball on you the whole game. I'm pretty sure they could have gotten a yard. You must have been absolutely over the moon delighted when you saw they were punting.
Of course. And just like Lions fans are probably bummed when we went for it on 4th and 6. But
yeah, that's the other thing. I was thinking when they went for it on 4th and 6, I'm thinking if I'm a Lions fan right now, I'm freaking out. I wanted them to punt so badly here, and now they're going for it, and they're going to throw it to Jason Witten. And apparently the Lions were the only people who didn't realize Jason Witten was getting the ball there.
Right.
But then the combo of just not going for if they get that 4th down and 1, now you're taking it under 6 minutes. You're almost definitely getting at least a field goal attempt unless Stafford gets sacked, which puts you up. What was the score? 2017.
Well, they would need another first down. They're at the 45, but they would have. Yeah.
Well, it puts you in range. You're one more first down away from a field goal.
Sure.
But then on top of it, Sam Martin comes in and does a 10-yard punt. If anyone's going to say that this game was fixed, then Sam Martin has to be involved in any fixing conspiracy.
Yeah. He and Butler on the Cardinals must have gotten together to gone over the same game plan.
That was probably one of considering the situation and the impact on the game and the fact that it was the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I don't know the list of the worst punts ever, but it has to be on that list.
Very bad.
10 yards?
Yep.
10-yard punt? But then, and then as you said, Dallas gets the 4th and 6, and then they get a big 3rd and 7 on the Detroit 13. They get a pass interference penalty. All right, now flip it around. You score. it seems like Detroit's devastated. You get this miraculous call, Pete Morelli doing the Earl Dave Hebner combo on you.
Oh God.
And then Stafford fumbles, your guy picks it up, and then he fumbles it.
Yeah.
Now, what are your emotions at that point?
Well, I'm going nuts, but everyone's like, "Oh, just fall on it." LeBron James with 10 exclamation points, fall on it. When you're in the game like that, you just, I don't know. I guess you could pull it all back, but with the adrenaline running, you pick it up and you probably scoop it and go with it. But yeah, hold on to it, for crying out loud. I was going crazy, but this is what I mean about this team. This is a different feel from the Tony Romo, Jason Garrett, falling apart at the last minute thing. This is Romo doesn't have to play out of his head anymore to win a game. DeMarco Murray didn't even have a great game, and they won the game. They were down 14-0. That doesn't happen. And you have guys like Terrence Williams avenging his pass interference call in the very next, that drive, a long touchdown, and same with DeMarcus Lawrence. Then the strip sack of the fumble, and at the end to avenge his bad fumble recovery. So I don't know. I don't know that we beat the Packers, but I have a really good feeling. Not to mention the hatred towards the Cowboys. It just feels right. Doesn't it feel right? Doesn't it feel right about now?
You almost. It sounds like you've already had a Diet Coke today. That's how riled up you are.
The Coke Zero. How dare you?
Des Bryant did not have a good game, and then also got saved from going down on Cowboys glory. Walks onto the field without his helmet to yell at the ref after the pass interference penalty. Another thing that I've never seen before was somebody doing that and them not calling a penalty. I didn't know you were allowed to just wander onto the field without your helmet and yell at referees. That was a good one.
Like I said, you have to get the call right, whether it takes a fellow referee to help you or a player on the team that was hurt and coming off. Everything I read says they don't have to call that a penalty. They could and they should, but they don't have to call that a penalty. So
especially if
he's fine this week, then it should have been a penalty, I guess.
It's not a penalty if the head of officials is on the Cowboys party bus in training camp.
I love it.
That's definitely not a thing. This is great. You guys are the villains now.
Dominican Sue played this game. Let's not forget, you went crazy about it in the middle of the week. What a short memory you have.
What, that he played?
That he played. The suspension was overturned. If Roger Goodell or anyone is favoring Dallas, he doesn't play that game. Come on.
I was more crazy that they flip-flopped on it. I don't think he should have been suspended. I think his feet were cold, and he didn't realize he was stepping on Aaron Rodgers. He thought he was stepping on a homeless man outside because they really blew that game, and everybody's going to focus on the call. And I am conceding it was one of the worst calls of all time, and I couldn't believe it when it happened.
It was the right call, but yeah, it was
don't
terrible.
Understand. I've never seen that sequence of events at a football game ever.
Right.
But
we should see it more. I love when the officials get it right eventually.
But the other thing that nobody is focused on is giving up the touchdown inside Dallas's own 20 before halftime when you're up 14-0, and you just randomly decide to give up what was that, 85 yards?
Yeah, that was bad.
There's 2 minutes left in the half. The only thing you want to do in that standpoint is not give up a big play.
Yeah,
and they give up, and all of a sudden you cut the lead in half. I mean, if you go into that halftime 14-0 or 14-3, we had Charlie Pierce there from Grantland. He was sitting in the stands, and he said people were freaking the F out.
Sure.
And he said the people in front of him left in the third quarter. They were
really?
just gone.
Does he smell? Does he bathe?
But he said he was just the vibe in there was just crazy.
Oh yeah,
and just people just. And as a Red Sox fan, I've gone to games like that where you're expecting the worst, and the fans just freeze up, and everybody's sphincter is tight, and it just flipped on that. The call, then the 4th and 1 punt, then the 4th and all of a sudden it just felt like Dallas was going to win.
Well, and I felt like if the Lions could drive the field 95 and 99 yards. And score both. And I was like, that's it. You deserve to win if you could do that on the road. And can we agree that there's no reason to rush the punter when he's booting it from 9 yards deep in his end zone? 3 things could happen, and 2 of them are bad. The best thing that happens is it's blocked and goes out of the end zone, and you get a safety. But you're going to get good field position anyway. You're trading that for a field goal probably, and then the roughing. There's more likely a chance of roughing or running into the kicker because you have full speed and not as much distance to travel. So it's what I call the yellow mustard of plays. Yellow mustard is never preferred to spicy golden mustard. That's what it is. Just stay back and return the punt, or don't.
Who did you watch the game with?
I watched it with Corolla and our friend Brad. And,
I didn't realize you watched it with friends.
Yeah,
that was a mistake.
No, I know. I was even though I emailed you, my regrets. I was oddly confident in the game. I really was.
Did you cry when Romo threw the go-ahead touchdown and then pounded the turf?
No, I didn't cry. What do you mean you didn't cry?
Well, no, Romo's made you cry before.
No, there'll be tears. There will be tears, but
you
not
cried.
this week.
You cried after the botched kickoff, the botched field goal snap that night. You went to Blood Diamond, and when Leo died, you cried in the theater.
I did cry in the theater. Yeah, that was different. Yeah, when they lose, I'll cry for sure. Yeah, I cried when I saw your tweet accusing the Cowboys of cheating. That's when I cried.
I don't think the Cowboys cheated. I think I just think it was a series of inexplicable
one play with
events.
8 minutes left. Can't believe
Inexplicable. The announcers didn't know. Even Mike Pereira, who works for the league, even he didn't know what happened. He was I don't know what happened. That was pass interference.
Yeah, he always knows what happens. Forget it.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. You like the Cowboys in this spot.
Well, your defense worries me a little. I wasn't. If I'm a Lions fan, I mean, you got to stop focusing on that call. I know it's going to haunt you for the rest of your lives, but you really have to look at how your team played, some of the decisions that were made. It was just a weird game. I felt like Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate were getting open.
Yeah, they were.
They only had 10 catches.
Yeah, I think Brandon Carr was one of the luckier guys on the field. Like, he wasn't exposed.
Weird.
He wasn't having a good time covering.
And
Calvin
they were
Johnson.
running the ball. Like, I don't understand how they scored 2 touchdowns pretty early. They scored 6 points the rest of the game.
Well,
that made no
Stafford.
sense.
To say what you will. Pressured Stafford to a point where there was a lot of holding going on when he scrambled for a first down, and that wasn't called, and then Witten wasn't called for holding. You know, there's a lot. There's a popular video going around showing a call that should have gone the Cowboys' way. So, yeah.
I love it. I love that you're embracing your heel status heading into Green Bay.
You, I feel like it's 1985 and I'm Roddy Piper coming down the tunnel, taking one knee and giving the Jimmy Snuka "I love you" sign to the fans as they pelt me with garbage. The Cowboys are hated again. It's great.
As you're going against America's new hero, Aaron Rodgers, who's won exactly one Super Bowl.
He should lay down for it. We made the villain that tried to end his career cry. He should lay down for us.
Patriot fans are mad at me.
Well,
they thought I was too confident
actually have it on
week.
tape. What you said here. Hold on. Wait a second. This is not a reverse jinx. Bring on the Ravens. We're ready for them. They're a soft team. They're softer than a bag of marshmallows. They're softer than Charmin Ultra Soft 2-ply toilet paper. They're so soft, their offensive line was mistaken for buttermilk biscuits. Their running game is so soft, I think I might lay my head on them at night. That's all I got. Got to run to do Polatos. Zaza Pachilia. What you said. Well, that's what I mean about playing possum. But now they have Nata back, and they're going to be. I don't know. They're going to be in this game probably for most of it.
So is he allowed to use Adderall during the playoffs or no? What's the rule on that?
You have so many conspiracy theories.
Well,
it's
the Ravens. Great. I mean, if you're talking about PED teams from the last decade, the Ravens and the Seahawks have to be 1-2 in the list, right?
Yeah.
Is there any team had more PED shadiness?
Maybe that could be the Super Bowl. What's the odds on that matchup? That'd be nice.
My team's clean, except for our tight end who may have murdered 3 people. Pressure Brady as much as you can, and then hit the living hell out of the receivers and the tight ends and the running backs on screen passes. And if you get a couple flags, so be it.
Yeah.
And that's what the Ravens are going to do this week. Like they're going to go after Gronkowski. Now they're going to try to tackle him at his knees and and hit him as hard as they can. They won't care if they get a couple penalties. I think that's what you should do in Lambeau.
All right.
Like, fine. Be like, all right, fine. We got 3 unnecessary roughness penalties. Who cares?
Well, I don't even think they'll let me on the field, but you mean the Cowboy, what they should do. Yeah.
Congratulations on Greg Biggio making the Hall of Fame. I know you were pining for it for years.
It's a proud day. Champagne bottles were popping at my house last night.
Do you remember that time we were at that game and Biggio? Oh, wait. I don't even know what Craig Biggio looks like.
That time he got that base hit, it was great.
The time he singled up the middle?
Exactly. Boy, I'll be bouncing my grandkids on my knee telling them that story.
My buddy Gus sent me an email. It's basically like, I can't wait to bounce my grandkids on my lap and tell them about never remembering a single game that Craig Biggio played. I thought that was apt. And he also hit, what did he hit? 70, 71 homers? 70? He was in the 70s. I don't even remember. It was
I don't
so
remember
many.
because Bonds had 72. That's the record, but I forget. Yeah, what
No,
McGuire
Bonds
had
was
70?
73. Yeah, McGuire had 72. Bonds had 73, I think.
Oh, did he? Because Sosa had 66 that year, and then McGuire had whatever, 70-something.
Poor
70,
Sosa.
71.
Sosa averaged like 65 homers a year for the entire decade, and is being considered.
It's so crazy.
An off year for Sosa was 58 homers.
It's so crazy.
Meanwhile, he was growing a second chin, a third forehead.
Right.
It was very much like the Tuck rule in that it was the right call, but it's a horrible rule. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Look, here's the thing. I listened to our podcast last week, and I come off as a raving lunatic, even more so than normal, defending the Cowboys against the Lions call and everything. So I really don't want to go too crazy on this because I'll tell you, because the Cowboys don't necessarily win the game if they score there. You know, like Rodgers is going up against a prevent Rod Marinelli defense, and I'm confident he takes them down and probably kicks the field goal, which, depending if the Cowboys have the 2-point conversion, either wins the game or ties it or scores. So I'm realistic when it comes to that. But here's the thing about the call. There's a lot of wrong things about football. There's the domestic violence issue. There's the concussion problem. There's going to be a big steroid issue coming up. And so the one thing you shouldn't take away from the fan, really from the fan's perspective, is the interesting, exciting play. Like, don't take that away from the fan. So I think the league needs to move backwards, work backwards from here and say, like, all right, this is a Dez catch. What do we have to write? How do we have to make the rules so that that's a catch? Like, work backwards from there. Like, you could take 30 drunken steps with the ball and get shoved in the back and really take like 10 or 12 more steps and then fall forward. And if the tip of the ball hits the ground, it's an incomplete pass. It's outrageous. And meanwhile, like a guy gets 2 feet barely in bounds and possesses the ball for a tenth of a second, and it's a catch. Like it doesn't jive. There needs to be a common rule there. And like we don't. Do we want to? We want to talk about going through the process and making a football move and natural motions, or do we want to reward an athletic catch like that? Like what do we want to do? We want to root for red flags or great catches, right?
So I guess the reason they have that rule, this is a guess, is that if it's just, it always used to be in my head when I was growing up that it was if you held the ball for 2 steps, then it was a fumble after that. Mm-hmm. So maybe they don't want as many fumbles or whatever. But the part that bothered me with the Dez thing was, and the reason I actually thought you could have made a case it shouldn't have been overturned. He caught it. He took the 2 steps. He saw the goal line. He kind of lunged for it for a second and then realized he wasn't going to make it. Yeah. I feel like anything around the goal line where even the guy is hinting that he's going to try to stretch out for it should be looked at a tiny bit differently.
Yeah,
Does it make sense?
Yes. When we talked about this a few weeks ago with the pylon rule, it's like everything down there is way too strict. Like, you slam the ball down on a pylon and it jars loose and you lose the ball. You get all the way down to the quarter-inch line. It's too much. It's not in the spirit of the game. It's not good.
The best way to describe the Dez catch, he made an unbelievable catch. He took 2 steps. He turned. He took his 3rd step and was thinking about lunging for the goal line and stopped as he was lunging for it because he realized he wasn't going to make it. The ball dislodged a tiny bit, but he never really lost it. And that was it. I mean, it was a catch.
Fair. I think
he caught the football.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're saying that wasn't a catch means like we might be looking at this stuff a little too closely at this point.
Definitely. And let's go by what 99% of those in sports bars yesterday thought. Did they all look at each other in silence and say, well, this needs to be reviewed because he clearly dropped? No, it's like, oh, my God, that is a great catch. And then the shock,
Well, it robbed you of a great Cowboys moment. Yeah. And if you win the game, I think that catch becomes a legendary catch because it was really a catch that I think like 3 guys in the entire league can make.
Right.
I agree with you that I think Rodgers comes down and probably scores and you lose anyway. But who knows?
Would have been nice.
Maybe you tip a pass. Maybe you strip him. Like Rodgers did. it kind of the catch kind of pushed the spotlight away from how good Rodgers was in the second half. He was lights out. He couldn't even move.
He was, and like I said, that's why I don't want to make too much of this catch. Other than that, they should change the rule in the off season because it's a bad one. But should have been up 17-7 at half. We missed the field.
You blew the halftime. You blew it
apart. I don't know what happened there, but and the play before on the 4th and 1, we blew a timeout. We should have been up at the line anyway. That was bad. The Murray fumble was bad. He apparently had nothing but daylight ahead of him.
Yeah.
And the fact that like Rod Marinell really played prevent defense the third and fourth quarter. Like I understand the plan going into the game. You have all these receivers to cover and stuff. Everyone can get open on a 5-yard slant. But once you see Rodgers is not mobile at all, you have to get in there. You have to split Scandrick 3 times a game. You do that against a mobile quarterback and not doing anything. Just let him pick everyone apart. It was bad.
I hated it, and I thought you got outcoached.
Yeah.
And especially the end of the first half, 14-7, 3rd and 1, just a total botching all the way around. Mm-hmm. Where I forget what at 3rd and 1 you try to throw deep.
Yep. Yeah,
and
we went deep. Yeah, right.
And then 4th and 1. First of all, 3rd and 1, just Murray twice. He's going to get a yard on one of the 2 carries, and then there's no way the Packers get the ball back at the end of the half.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to kick a field goal. You'll be up 17-7. You just got to look at it like it's 14-7. We need a yard. If we get the yard, we're going to be up 10 points at halftime.
Yep.
At least, possibly 14. So I thought that was a really bad omen when they messed that up. All of a sudden, it was 14-10 at halftime. And then, people were complaining a little bit about the throwing deep to Dez on that 4th and 2, which is basically the game. It almost worked, I guess, would be the argument for it. But it's hard for me to believe that was your best play on 4th and 2. You kind of went for the kill when you didn't have to, because all that does going for the kill is it's going to give the Rodgers the ball back with 4.5 minutes left.
Yeah, but I think I don't even know that was his main target there. Everyone else was covered. Witten underneath would have been the go-to guy, but he was covered. Williams was covered after I watched the replay a bunch. I don't think I would have been bummed if they ran there and it was close and it was stuffed or just short or something. But he thinks he could trust Dez, and you throw it up like that more times than not.
Yeah,
It's going to be a pass interference or a catch. Not what we saw there. Not the new NFL where you have to catch the ball, you have to bring it home, you have to put it on your mantle, you have to go get it appraised, you have to take it through college, and then you have to put it through therapy, and then you show the referee. If you still have it 12 years later, they grant you a reception. Threading the needle to Owen Daniels. I mean, was it very loud? Was it the loudest it's ever been with a lot of noise? Harbaugh complaining that they played illegally?
Well, he was wrong. I mean, he had just never seen it before, but they did everything legally. It was brilliant.
I know.
It was so brilliant that Collinsworth didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Collinsworth, who usually catches everything, they never really knew what the Patriots were doing. They were just blindsided by it.
Only the Patriots can do that. It really, it's going to get to a point where Brady's going to declare himself ineligible, and they're still going to score. Like, Brady's ineligible, and so is LaFell and Edelman.
It seems wildly illegal.
Right.
It's funny that you can do that formation, but you can't take 3 steps with the ball and then have it dislodged by a centimeter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're in maybe because you had such a whirlwind last 24 hours. Maybe like Wednesday, it really sets in and you're just sobbing silently in a dark room.
I think so. It's weird being in Texas. It was strange waking up here, and everyone is so depressed. I don't know, but I'm not like, I really don't want to put myself in the class of everyone else saying like that's why we lost the game. There's so many reasons to have lost that game,
you probably weren't a Super Bowl team with that defense.
No, but I did think we were better than the Packers. I really did. We might have gotten spanked by the Seattle, especially having beaten them once. We weren't going to sneak up on them, but I thought we could get one more game. You know, with me, it's like 80% of the relief when the season is over is if Romo didn't screw it up. I take hell to no end.
It's a moral victory.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a tough bastard. You have to admit, yesterday.
I thought he was great all season.
Yeah.
He's one of the best 5 players of this season.
Just a tough guy, too. Just be able to jump up like that.
Well,
I'm glad you're in decent shape mentally.
No, I just can't think. I really am just coming to terms with that. We weren't the best team, so this was a nice run. But
right now, stuck in a snowstorm, ready to give his take on the latest Patriots controversy, our friend Jacko. We're going to call him right now.
Hello.
Johnny.
What's up, buddy?
We're cheating. We're calling you at home. You're trapped home with a snowstorm.
Well, you seem quite familiar with cheating these days, so.
Oh, no.
Right out of the gates.
We're just well coached, Johnny. Maybe that. Maybe we're just better. We're the best coach of all time. Maybe we're just better coaching everybody.
And, when you give one press conference and you're like, nobody believes for a second that Belichick doesn't know anything about the footballs or how they're prepared when he's like hyper competitive and the most prepared guy in the history of football, arguably.
He's got other things to do, Johnny.
You're right. And he's not going to care about the footballs or what goes on with them. No clue, no idea. And then Brady comes out, and when you're asked point blank a question, are you a cheater? And you answer, I don't believe so.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
If you came home to your wife, home from Vegas, and she's like, you didn't do anything that, I'd be embarrassed about, would you? And you say, I don't believe so. Come on. You should be emphatic in your denial. Look her right in the eye and be like, of course not. How dare you suggest I'm a cheater? But I understand
There's no
that.
question.
I mean, if it was the Yankees, I'd be deluding myself into thinking they were clean too. So I get it. I get your position.
It would be like if you won your last World Series and then A-Rod was in 15 different steroid scandals.
Right.
In biogenesis clinics. So it'd be like, what would you do if that happened,
I mean, the ultimate irony is between, Big Papi and Manny and now Deflategate, and yet it's the other team in the Super Bowl that has a monument of a needle. It's pretty incredible.
Here's the thing. Everyone made a big deal about this bathroom trip.
Mm-hmm.
So he took a bunch of footballs into a bathroom for 90 seconds.
Right.
Here's my question for you. How long does it take to piss?
If I'm holding the prop sheets reading them, I take as much time as I can.
I'm going to say if you go into the bathroom and take a piss and come out, it's about 90 seconds. So here's my theory. I think he went in the bathroom to piss because that's what you do in the bathroom. You piss. Yeah. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom and he didn't want to eat. What's he going to do, leave the balls outside the bathroom? This whole thing's absurd. And people are like, oh, he went in there and deflated the footballs. You're not going to be able to deflate 12 footballs in 90 seconds. I mean,
no. That Phil Simms did on Inside the NFL. He kind of got through like 3 of them in no time. It doesn't take a lot.
Really?
I don't know. It's stupid.
Phil Simms can't even make a coherent point during a football game. He's going to deflate footballs on Inside the NFL?
Phil Simms serves under 7.5 years for murdering Bill Simmons.
No, I mean, I think the only way it makes sense is if they had 12 other footballs in the bathroom and he went in there and swapped the footballs. Now that would be kind of genius.
That would make more sense.
But I really think I've looked at this from every angle for 10 days, and I really think the referee just touched the footballs and said they were fine and never actually measured them with the gauge. And I think the referees do that all the time. I don't think they have time to sit there and freaking measure each one of them. I think they feel them to make sure they're okay, and then they say they're fine. And the Pats probably underinflated them a little. It's probably some equipment manager who's like, I'm going to be a hero. Brady likes the balls not totally inflated. I'm going to put them below the PSI, and the ref won't check.
But that's what gets me the crazy. Like Brady actually said, like I couldn't tell the difference. Like that, I just don't believe that, and I do want to believe him. I don't care. I don't have a horse in the race here. I don't care. But a blackjack dealer could tell the suit of a card by the weight of the ink, and you're going to tell me Brady can't tell if he's throwing a ball with less PSI, more PSI. I just don't believe.
He's doing a million things. Quarterback's the hardest job in sports. He's reading defenses. He's getting plays in the headset. He's motivating people. He's trying to figure out what to do. Like when you're coming out on Kimmel's show and doing a bit, are you thinking about? No, I mean, are you thinking like, wow, the guy put the mic on my shirt a quarter inch to the right? It feels like you're just thinking about the bit you're going to do.
Probably.
I think people seem to think athletes are these superhuman species, and it's like he's got a hard job, and I just don't think if you're doing 100 things at once, I think it's conceivable that you didn't notice that the football was 7% less inflated.
Well,
Can you tell
Maybe
I'm in full defend the
I know
Pats mode?
you have to defend it. I'm just saying you have this this non-entity kid or whatever he is, person of interest. It must be demoralizing that he could ruin everything. Whoever it is,
I think it would be totally Massachusetts and totally conceivable that some ball boy or equipment manager who loves Tom Brady and knows that Tom Brady likes the ball a little lighter, thought he could get away with one by making him a tiny bit lighter than the lowest limit because he didn't think he knew the refs wouldn't check because the refs never check.
Right. And I think it's outrageous for the Colts. That's a blowout no matter what. Now, what I would say is, let's say the week before against the Ravens, a team who apparently blew a whistle on the Pats. Let's say the Patriots had a play where they had a wide receiver throw the ball downfield in the cold conditions, big spot that he's not used to.
Yeah,
you probably might want to have the ideal ball to throw in that situation, right?
You might want to. The fumble stats that were online this week were pretty damning.
Right.
The only comeback I have comebacks for everything, any cocktail party or any sort of situation. I have a comeback for anything you're going to throw at me now with the Pats. But with that, Belichick benches anyone who fumbles.
That's right.
Just ask Stephen Ridley. One. You fumble, you're out. He puts the fear of God. It's like you want to play, don't fumble.
Right.
And that's why the Patriots don't fumble. So that's what I'm sticking with there.
What about Belichick? Does he cut his sleeves? Because you can get plus 165 if he wears the sleeves. It's like minus 190 if he cuts them, of the hoodie. I think he classes it up and goes with the sleeves.
Yeah.
I saw one I thought you might like. Knicks first quarter points versus the Lakers versus Pats points overall. Pats plus 1.5. What are the Knicks going to score? 24, 26?
Yeah, I mean, that would be unrealistic.
Yeah.
What about Tiger Woods' one of his teeth falling out versus minus 0.5 over anyone's teeth falling out in Super Bowl 49?
I like that. Meanwhile, your boy Russo yesterday, or maybe the day before, you'll both love this and hate it at the same time. He's going off on Deflategate. He's going off on Commissioner Goodell. And instead of saying, Goodell, get your head out of your ass, he said like 4 times, take your hands out of your ass, Goodell. Take your hands out of your ass.
Take your hands out of your ass?
He screwed up the line, and he kept going with it. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, they're not going to be the same, and they're going to have attrition from the 2 Super Bowls. It reminded me a little bit of the Packers beat the Pats that year, the Favre Super Bowl. The next year, they lost that heartbreaker to Denver. And a very similar kind of nail-biter down the end. Either team could have won. And then all of a sudden, Reggie White's getting old, and all of a sudden, it's a different team. Football, the team can – all of a sudden, you don't have the same team you had, and you don't really know what happened, but that guy's gone, and all of a sudden, you don't have the same team.
That's why you have to cheat. You have to keep cheating and cheating. It's the only way to get ahead.
First of all, thank you to Pete Carroll for finally coming through for the Patriots 17 years later.
That
I
poor
really
bastard. That college loss to Texas, it was a little more out of his hands than it was yesterday, but 2 of the worst losses in the last 10 years.
Yeah, those really were 2 of the bad ones. But
how do you coach again after that?
It's Corolla after 6 drinks with just his eyes rolled in the back of his head. They're just pontificating.
Right.
And his 2 children.
Yeah.
Including his daughter Natalia, who has a microphone and is coming in on the podcast, and she's calling the Patriots cheaters.
Oh, so you went in there early. I went in there. When I went in there, there were 7 kids in there, all trying to grab the microphone. But she was calling them cheaters.
Well, if there's anything America loves on a podcast, it's kids grabbing the microphone.
I mean, that was basically Corolla killing time to sober up to drive his kids home. That's all that was.
Using a podcast with an audience. Yeah. Well, but we should give him credit because the curse of Corolla is finally over.
It's over.
He bet on the Pats. He caused Deflategate right after he bet on the Pats, but it finally rallied and came back. But
let me ask you this: like your wife, like our wives, hypothetically speaking, if one of our friends was to cheat, they would want nothing to do with them. And, like we'd get in trouble for hanging out with them or something. And we're talking about Jacoby here. We might as well put it out there. But no, it's not Jacoby. Jacoby's true. He's true blue. He's as blue as Belichick's hoodie.
Jacoby's number one will never cheat on my
list.
He
really is. No,
he really loves his wife.
He's too scared. But the point is, Why does your wife allow you to root for a cheating team? Like, doesn't she say, "Oh, that gives me a little insight as to what my husband is up for here"?
That's a very interesting case.
Yeah.
I think when it's your team, it's like when you have a kid.
Right.
You know, like when these parents, when their kids commit crimes, they show up at court every day and convince themselves that the crime didn't happen.
Exactly. Put them in rehab. Yeah.
But in this case, I really do feel like the Patriots have been railroaded. Like I thought it was interesting that, like the stories are starting to trickle out now about how mad Brady is about this whole thing, and how mad Kraft is. And I didn't notice this because, we're celebrating and could barely hear the TV last night, all that stuff. But apparently Kraft didn't even acknowledge Goodell on the podium.
Right.
And he didn't go to the commissioner press conference on Friday, which the two owners are usually supposed to go to. And this guy was like Goodell's biggest protector, and he's kind of done. I think the Pats, from what I've heard, are like just livid about how everything has been handled here. And the report came out yesterday, nobody even noticed, that only one of the balls was actually deflated.
I saw that, yeah.
The other ones were like barely under the legal minimum, which makes sense with the weather change.
Yeah, I don't like that. I like the other report that came out the week before.
I know, but it's like this was all leaks and it's the same stuff they did with the Rice thing, and the league is an absolute mess internally.
It is.
And I think more stories are going to come out about Goodell. I really do.
I don't know why I could separate it or why I do separate it, but I think Brady deserves everything he gets. He's great. He's the greatest. But that Belichick, he just looks like a cheat. And I don't know. I don't know anything more than what I read and what anyone else knows. But it just, greatest coach of all time. He definitely wasn't the greatest yesterday. I'll say that. But he wasn't. Come on.
I don't know.
Come on, letting that clock go.
Really good game plan.
Well,
he let the clock go, but it led to a terrible play call that they intercepted. I think he's a genius again.
Their defense is so-so, and let's see if they repeat what they did last year, where they get better as the season goes on. And yeah, this road trip is going to be tough. They have an 8-game road trip and a 7-game road trip. That's not really ideal from a schedule perspective. But I think, look, they were one Chris Paul boner away from being in the Western Conference Finals last year. People act like this team hasn't achieved anything.
I heard a story once. I don't know why it stuck with me, but it did, and it was about Tony Gonzalez, the tight end. It was in a Pro Bowl, and Belichick was the coach, and it was like kickoff coverage. And so, of course, the Pro Bowl, everybody does everything half-assed in the Pro Bowl, and Tony Gonzalez completely, whiffed on a block on somebody, and he walked back to the bench. Belichick gave him like a side eye and goes, "You might want to block somebody on that." And he got so motivated that he went down and laid somebody out the next kickoff in the Pro Bowl, because he's like, Belichick just has this way. There's something about the way he said it, completely emasculated Tony Gonzalez, who had pride as a professional.
A couple emails about this. Edelman in the second half, and especially after he gets clocked by Cam Chancellor on the play that might have been a concussion and might not have.
Yeah.
Starts telling everybody he loves them.
Oh,
and God. I had a reader say that it's a little like your drunk buddy in college at 2 a.m. who's like, "Hey, Johnny, I love you. You're the best." And it's a little bit like that. At one point, they're on the drive to take the touchdown, and all of the offensive linemen are standing next to each other. Edelman goes up to him and goes, "Hey, I love you guys. I love all of you guys." It's just right in the middle. There's 2 minutes left. It's great. But he might actually be like that, so I don't know the actual answer. But Edelman's whole performance is an Emmy Award winner. You got to watch it.
If the internet is to be believed, he's been loving quite a few people ever since the Super Bowl. So
I had no allies. I was at home, and I was like, at the end of the day, I'd rather just be at home. Yeah. But it was just all things against me. He had the ear of the owner. You know what I mean? He was the president, the GM, and the coach. And, we weren't winning. So, what better excuse than to, stick the blame on the guy who's making the most money on the team.
Right.
And I think that from the owner's standpoint, he felt that he had so much disdain because he had spent so much money, but he never got a chance to, he never sat down and talked to me. It's like,
I'm not sure you can have a conversation with him as
He's such a strange guy. I'm not even sure.
I told him. I said, "Hey, man." He was like, he came up to me.
Sterling
before one game, and he looked at me. He was like, "Man, I'm so disappointed in you." He was like, "I'm so disappointed in you." And I looked at him, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm disappointed in you too." I said, I'm the highest paid person in this organization, and you have yet one time to ask me a question about how I feel about this shit.
Yeah.
And so after that, he just like walked away and shook his head. And for me, it's like, how do you go out and win for somebody who, thinks you're an idiot or thinks you're a bastard,
right?
And a coach who done really putting you in a position to be successful.
Right.
It's like, yo, pass the ball to Chris Kaman because I want to prove to the owner that Chris Kaman is an all-star.
Because he picked him over a bunch of people.
Yeah. So, in that year, that was the second year when Chris Kaman became an all-star, but it was, pass the ball to Chris Kaman so, he can, lead centers in scoring and field goal percentage.
I was going to those games. That wasn't my first choice for the offense.
No. That's not. It should never be the first choice.
No, all due respect,
that's why we were losing.
So Sterling, you could hear him grumbling at you sometimes, right? During games?
All the time. I mean, it took everything in my power, man, not to throw the ball in that man's face. Or
that would have been the best moment of any season.
I always said that.
Just one time.
I always said that. But, it was
like, what would he say? What could you hear him say?
It was, like, for me, I was already the bad boy, of the organization, and I was already the scapegoat. So if I would have pegged him with the ball, then I'd probably been kicked out the league or something.
You could have you could have had somebody stand by him.
I was trying to do that. I was thinking about every way that I could, man. I was thinking about diving it, having somebody lose the ball, or just dribbling and like try to go behind my back and throw the ball, him or his wife. It wouldn't have mattered. Get a 2-for-1
So you were waiting this whole Clippers time for some loose ball to be rolling over there, and you would take him out.
Tackle him, man.
That would have been great.
His life.
What kind of stuff was he grumbling? Just like, geez, you suck.
No, you're a bastard.
He would say you're a bastard?
Yeah, you're a bastard. They used to call me the demon child and the heathen.
Him and his wife.
Yeah. To like people that I was friends with, that they would have at like dinners and different things like that. So word would always get back to me because
we know a
lot of the same people.
Yeah.
What else did he call me? An idiot, an MF. Like why? Just
MF.
Yeah.
He said that.
Yeah. Why are you shooting the ball? Or like stop shooting. Like you can suck. Stop shooting the ball. Like, oh, for real? Okay, I'll stop shooting.
Why didn't you say anything at the time? Why didn't you tell the press about it? I think that would have become a story.
Because, to be honest, the way that they were running the organization was such a tight-knit thing. And
tight-knit would be a friendly way of saying it.
Yeah, but think about it.
They had like
think
3
about
people, they're all jackasses.
This man has been like this for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So everybody in the PR department under his regime was really PR for him. Yeah. And it was a security blanket.
They were afraid of him.
It was a security blanket. So as soon as I step out and, say something, I'm sitting in there saying stuff like, I didn't really hold back as far as like when we were talking about how much I didn't like him or didn't like the situation. It's just like, what do you, I tell people, I was like, hey, man, like, it's hard to play for a dude like that when he's racist. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, and it's not so much that he's a racist. He's a hate everybody is. You know what I mean? Like, he hates everybody.
Well, what's funny is that all the stuff that happened last year when all the stuff came out, and I knew like 80% of what he was.
Yeah.
And then people were like, well, why were you getting season tickets every year if you knew this guy was whatever? And it's like, it's weird. You compartmentalize stuff. And I'm sure you were the same way. You're taking checks from the guy, but you knew he was a bad person.
Yeah, it was tough,
I'm sending checks to the guy, and I knew he was a bad person.
Yeah.
But I just love basketball, and it was my best chance to go see the other team, so you don't think about it. And he's just sitting there courtside, and you think like, oh, there's
just
that guy.
draining the whole energy.
I'm just not even thinking about that guy.
Yeah. I like, it'd be days that I walk into practice and like, having a good morning and you see like one of, the employees like bawling their eyes out or, a lady just bawling their eyes out. It's like, what's what's wrong? It's like, oh, he cussed me out and he called me, all kind of names. I was like, man, don't pay attention. So like my leadership had to like, I was handicapped because I had to like basically like, I was the one person that was not going to stand for none of it.
Yeah.
And so when people saw that, it was almost like, oh, wow. Like, so they would come to me and it would become, the conversation was never about, hey, let's come in the gym and win. It was like, yo, be careful because it could be cameras around. And you know what I mean? Like, so it was like, hang around them, don't. Hang around them, don't.
He really did bring people in the locker room to, like, look at you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Because people didn't believe that.
Dude takes his clothes off.
Right.
He's a stud. Come meet my prized possession. He was...
What did... Because Blake comes into the league. He's obviously going to be really good. You liked him. Mm-hmm. Like, could you see him kind of be like, oh, my God, this guy's so much worse than anybody prepared me for?
Yeah, I think for Blake, he was shell-shocked because, it's like it was his dream, playing the NBA and, to be around a dude like that. But, I give Blake a lot of credit, these young dudes a lot of credit. They paid no attention to it. For me as a veteran, I had way too much going on in my life. And, it affected me because, man, I can't win for this dude who's like, like if we win, he wins, And it's like, well, if I don't play, he paying me, you going through all that. And at the same time, in the back of your mind, you're like, damn, I should have stayed with the Warriors, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean? I should have stayed with the Warriors.
It's not like they were doing good either.
And they were doing terrible.
Yeah.
It's like, that was slowly crumbling and falling apart.
That third year.
That's when we started Live City. We came back.
I thought you guys played really well together.
We did.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
I was very surprised when they made that stupid trade.
Yeah.
Which was all financial, and then it ended up biting them in the butt because it ended up being Kyrie Irving. Yeah. I mean, that's what a terrible trade that was. Right. They didn't protect the pick, and then it was like, oh, we couldn't, because it was like, well, then don't make the trade.
Yeah,
it's not like you were playing bad.
No, we were actually playing good, and we were, despite some injuries, we were playing pretty good, and there was a lot of promise. Yeah, they wanted to get me out because, they needed somebody to, they needed a scapegoat, and I think at the same time they wanted Blake to grow, and they felt like, I don't know, they felt like I was standing in the way of his growth, which I didn't really think was an issue. I just felt like in that third year, started out the year hurt, and then we playing with 6 rookies.
Yeah.
So it's hard to win in this league when you have such a young team. But we had a lot of promise, and the Live City stuff started happening. Blake, DeAndre start getting their confidence, and it looked like we was going to do some good things. And then Vinny Del Negro was coaching, so
Yeah, I remember those games.
Yeah, man. It's
weird to think that part of it could be stress-related for Kevin Love. This is total conjecture, but he's in a really stressful situation, right? He went from Minnesota to Cleveland. He's being used out of position. He's playing with the most famous player on the earth. He's in a situation where once upon a time in Minnesota, nobody gave a crap what he did day to day. I mean, he was just anonymous. And now he's playing for this team that has a giant spotlight on it, and I wonder if all this stuff is related, Yeah.
When he gives a radio interview or LeBron subtweets him, it's on SportsCenter. That's got to be a new feeling for him.
Well, can we agree? I hate blowing stuff like this out of proportion, but man, when he gave that interview to Dan Patrick and pushed Westbrook for the MVP, I thought that was one of the strangest moments of the season. Like, if somebody said to me, who do you think the best TV person is, Jalen or Barkley? I wouldn't say obviously Barkley's amazing. He's the MVP. Like you're going to gravitate toward your own guys. You just have to do it to do it. And it was weird that he's friends with Westbrook. First of all, it was also weird. He talked about how LeBron took time off. Like he wasn't saying LeBron was hurt, his knee was bothering. He was like, well, LeBron took 2 weeks off. It's like, wow, that was kind of bold, right? That just, I thought the whole thing felt funny to me.
Well, on one hand, I hate how phony interviews are. So whenever a guy's being real, I'm like, I don't want to stifle that. But also, somebody was talking to me about this, and they were like, well, if anybody on the Rockets was asked, do you think they'd answer anything other than Harden? Or if anybody when the Warriors was asked, And I guess I was a pretty simple answer. I said, no, I don't think so. And LeBron, I know, like, he elected to not make an issue of it. He made sure he made a conscious decision before he was asked, I'm going to shut this down. But one thing I think you're going to see is LeBron, because this is what they did in Miami. LeBron's going to have a conversation with the whole team between now and the start of the playoffs, and he's going to say, listen, no more anything to the media. You give bland answers. You're going to see, if they listen to him, you're going to see the answers go clam up. If there's going to be drama, it's going to at least be all on-court drama, because LeBron has rolled his eyes numerous times, and not just Kevin, but also some of the stuff that David Blatt has said. I mean, I've lost track of how many different times this year David Blatt has said something and LeBron has directly contradicted it within 45 seconds.
Right.
And I think he might even have to have the talk with his coach. Hey, just give bland answers here. We got to get in these playoffs.
Dirk, for his career, 38% free throw from threes. This season, 38.5. For his career, 88% from free throw. This year, 88% from free throw. Field goal, 46%. Career, 47.5. He's playing less minutes, but it is pretty funny that he's declined a little, obviously, but it hasn't been dramatic yet. And this is year 7. I think it's year 16 or year 17 for him. Can he still be one of the best 4 guys on a championship team?
That's 4 guys?
Yeah,
oh,
he can.
Absolutely. No
best
question.
3 guys.
Yes.
Can he be the second best guy on a championship team?
Yes.
So you think he'd be the second banana championship team guy?
Yes.
Are you saying this because you might be listening to the podcast?
No.
Okay.
He's declined, I think, more than a little bit. I mean, I love Dirk. Dirk can barely move right now. Literally, nice. He's a mummy on the court. They call him the mummy in Dallas. His teammates joke and call him the mummy. He cannot move. But the man can shoot, and I think second option is fine for him, because you'll see him now. He'll pump fake, get his guy up in the air, and have a clean driving lane, and he won't take it because his body can't do it, or he's saving that up for the playoffs. And so he's not the same player. But yeah, I mean, the power. If your power forward or center can shoot like that, you start off. This is the spacing argument with Kevin Love. You just start off with a huge advantage. He can't carry a team like he used to, but yeah, second best guy in a championship team, absolutely.
Well, he's on TV all the time. Mr. Charles Barkley.
Oh, boy.
26.6% from 3, and somehow took 2,020 of them.
No wonder he thinks jump shooting teams can't win the championship.
I would have fined him every time he took a 3. That would have been one of my rules.
Can I say something about Glenn Davis?
Sure.
I've had multiple coaches and strength coaches and trainers suggest that I don't know how we would do this, but that we should do a story on how it's possible that Glenn Davis is a rotation player in the NBA, because they just don't understand how they look at him and they're like, our strength coaches and our trainers literally do not understand how it's possible that he is running up and down the court and playing in the NBA. I don't know how we would do that, but many people have suggested that somehow that's a Grantland story. It's incredible to watch him because he moves around fast, right, and he doesn't get winded in a minute. It's really incredible. He's playing ahead of Spencer Hawes. It's crazy.
If Goodell wasn't as inept as you and the Pats fans claim he is, and he is, I think Brady would be in trouble right now. I think they kind of had him dead to rights. I think they had him. They said he didn't know these clubhouse guys, and then they had 100 texts between them. Then he threw out his phone. And if they would have dug deeper, if the investigation wasn't half-assed, wasn't led by Roger Goodell, I don't think he's playing these first 4 games. That's the irony, I think. So
first of all, bite your tongue.
Okay, I will.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So would you agree that quarterback is the hardest position to play in all of sports?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So he's preparing to play the Colts and then the Super Bowl the next week. Mm-hmm. He's studying game plans. He's studying defenses. Right. He's got to memorize, 400 plays. He's got to know when he goes to the line, I see this, I'm doing this. All he's doing is thinking about football.
Yeah.
So in his spare time, he's organizing a ball deflation scheme with Murph and Sully, the 2 equipment manager guys who make $10 an hour. And And then on top of it, they're only deflating the balls by 9%, 10%.
Right.
Just enough. Like, that makes sense to you. Sure. Honestly, that makes sense to you.
Well,
he's like, no. The balls feel 10% heavier than they should. Can you take a little more? There's no way this happened.
It makes as much sense as the leader of the NFL conducting a witch hunt against the number one jersey sales guy the first 3 weeks of 2015. What's in it for the NFL if I turn it around on you to go after him like this?
All right, so here's my counter to that.
Go ahead.
So the NFL has screwed up multiple things over the last few years. They've handled Bountygate, they handled terribly. They handled concussions terribly.
Right.
The 18-game schedule they're trying to get through. Ray Rice.
Sure.
Can we agree they butchered Ray Rice?
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson was butchered.
Yeah.
Just the pattern of bad conduct and bad decision making seems like it just continued with Deflategate. Right. And I agree. I actually agreed with the ESPN outside the lines theory that it was payback for Spygate. I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think Goodell let them off the hook in 2007. They destroyed all these tapes to make it go away. And I think people around the league were like, wait a second. Why did you help them out like that? You're Kraft's boy. I think that was a big part of this, that he was like, the perception in the league was Kraft was like the puppeteer and Goodell was his puppet. And he's trying to prove, no, that's not true. I'm my own man. Watch this. I'm going to go after Tom Brady.
I know.
First of all, how dare you go after Tom Brady? He's been nothing but an ambassador for the National Football League.
That's kind of what I'm saying. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I will say this, I think you are vindicated on all counts, except for in 3 years from now when we find out the equipment guys were paid off more than your HBO deal by the Patriots to keep quiet. Then we're going to have a problem. But
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So Brady goes into a federal court and testifies that he knew nothing about anything. Testifies under oath.
Yeah.
So now if these ball boys come out after, and I checked with Michael McCann from Sports Illustrated, who's been excellent. If these ball boys come out, or the equipment managers, they come out after, they sell some story to TMZ for $2 million. Here's the smoking gun. We did help Brady. He knew all along. They could actually go back and like Brady could get in real trouble for that.
Yeah.
So he went into a federal court. So you basically, if your premise is that he actually did know what was going on, so now he's risking going to jail over this, over just admitting like, yeah, we tinkered with the balls a little bit.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I don't think he did this. Right. And also, like, all right, so what if he said, hey, guys, I just like the balls a little lighter?
Yeah.
Like keep it on the low end or whatever. Because one of the things that came out in that with the Jets thing was they had it to like 16 PSI.
Right. And they never
Brady
really
like,
measure
Those
it.
are too heavy. What the hell's going on? He's yelling at them. And these guys are like, oh, my God, Tom Brady yelled at us. We got to.
Yeah. And that's kind of why they delayed this, right? Because they never measured the balls. They don't even know what standard to hold it to. So if anything, now they're measuring at halftime. They have a number to go up against if they want to suspend him next year, I think, which is why it was kind of pushed, why they didn't push it. But doesn't it upset you that the Patriots didn't fight their fine, their punishment? Doesn't that make things look bad?
I think Kraft, they had an understanding, you let Brady off here. Let me pay. This will be payback for Spygate, and we'll make this go away. And then Goodell double-crossed him. He obviously double-crossed him.
Yeah, see, there's so much weird stuff with this. I don't know. Your guys playing. You're the best team in football again. You're vindicated.
Well, I have some stats for you.
Go ahead. Let's hear them.
Hold on. I got to turn my iPad on. This is really high-tech stuff here. All right, so here's Brady. Okay. Since halftime of the AFC title game.
Right.
All right, with the deflated balls that were allegedly helping him. Here's what he's done since. Second half of that game, 12 of 14, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. Super Bowl, 37 for 50, 328, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. Right. Week 1, 25 of 34, 288, 4 TDs. Week 2, 38 of 59, 466, 3 TDs. Last week, 33 of 42, 358, 2 TDs. Total,
love this.
Total since halftime, 145 for 197, 73%, 1,571 yards, 15 TDs, and 2 picks in 4 games and a half.
Yeah, no one could see this.
Thank God they were deflating the balls for him, because that's the only way he could succeed. Give me a break.
He's reading these stats. He's actually smiling ear to ear.
I love
still able to get the numbers out.
I love
Let
it.
me just say this. Tom Brady's the greatest.
Thank you.
Whether you want to admit anybody, he's the greatest we've seen in the last 25 years. Bill Belichick, probably the greatest coach. And yet they love to cheat. They just love, they have to cheat. They have to. It's in them. They're going to win anyway, but they have to cheat. And I'll say this, Brady's going to, with a pancake, is going to be able to, with a medicine ball, is going to be able to throw for great numbers. He's going to be the greatest. But when you have these running backs who no one will ever hear from again in the middle of December and January, these Antoine Smiths never fumble. You'll never hear from these running backs again, and they never fumble. That has more to do with it than anything.
Well, Deion Lewis has fumbled like 3 times this year already.
Yeah, I know, because everyone's watching the balls now. It's not even cold.
I love that the Pats are in everyone's head, because when I was growing up, Red Auerbach Celtics were like this, and people thought the locker rooms were bugged. That's great. I'm glad the Colts were taking off their game. But you have to admit, though, this was a sting operation by the NFL when they did this. Like, let's say this is the NBA, and somebody beats the Cavs in round 2, and the team complains, LeBron's, they did something to the rims.
Right.
Adam Silver wouldn't set up a sting operation to catch LeBron in the next game.
No.
He would go to the Cavaliers and be like, "Hey guys, this team complained about this, and I'm gonna send 3 guys, and we're gonna check the rims. Like, I really hope this isn't true." Yeah. Goodell goes the other way. It's like he's got people dressed up in all black with ski masks, like trying to catch people.
Right?
Why?
I think there's pressure from the other owners who don't like the Patriots. I think that's it. That's it. If it is in fact a sting operation, it's like, hey, we hate the Patriots for all these other reasons, which we're going to bring up. So just get him on this, and we'll keep quiet for a while. And then, of course, he goes about it the wrong way, and it all falls through. So these coaches that go through 3 divorces because they're working 90 hours a week. Like, if you can't play Sega Genesis and figure out that you need to let that clock run, then something's wrong there. Sorry, Jason Garrett.
Are coaches really getting divorced because they work 90 hours a week?
That's supposed to be the deal. No, they're not.
I bet Joe Philbin is happily married.
Plus 240.
And Jim Caldwell, too.
Plus
I bet both
240.
of those guys are happily married. Their wives love them. Oh, Joe's home. It's only 4:30, Joe.
Joe, you got it all
What are you
figured
doing
out?
here? I thought you had to work. No, it's fine. But I would pick the Bucks with gun to my head, Bucks, plus 3.
Yeah, and I am ashamed, depressed, all kinds of.
Don't be ashamed or depressed. What are you doing?
I was in 2 different competitions that are these kind of unit allocation.
You sound like you're telling me you're in the Ashley Madison catalog or something.
I am definitely not. Everybody that's listening that knows me, I have had nothing to. I would never, under any circumstances in a million years, use an identity that anybody could ever track back to me in something like that.
We had DeGrom, Harvey, Flores, and Wright on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Oh,
and I got to meet them.
You got to meet them.
Super nice guys.
You're meeting all your heroes.
It was a really
incredible.
weird week, like Marty McFly and those guys and just everything going on. But it was weird to see, and I don't want to sell anyone out, DeGrom like pacing backstage, like he's nervous. And I'm like, Jimmy's going to ask you 2 questions, and one of them's going to be about your hair, and that's going to be it. You're really nervous about this?
That's funny.
Like 55,000 people, 25.
That is amazing when guys get nervous about one thing that's out, but then the other thing that should make them more nervous. They're like just like my daughter's like that. My daughter in soccer, like making penalty kicks in the state cup, no nerves at all. And then when she does math, like pools of sweat under her feet.
Right, yeah.
Like just freaks out. It's weird that people can't channel pressure.
Yeah. Is she wearing shin guards when she's doing her homework? Maybe you should.
Maybe that's what I should dress her up in a soccer uniform. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
When I can't name 4 of my 5 offensive linemen who are starting in a game, that's when I don't tease the Pats. So, Greg Hardy, like, at what point?
He's a mental case. What do you want to do? It'd be nice if he forced a turnover once in a while, or anyone on this defense could do it, so that you could say it was somewhat worth it. But he's out of control.
Is he the least likable player you've ever rooted for? He's got to be up there.
I didn't like Charles Haley.
That's true. Well, at least he would masturbate in the locker room.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That I liked a lot.
Yeah, and Morris is kind of a sneaky crunch time guy, like somebody you can go to and run plays for, and he makes big shots. I think he's got huge balls. Fun to watch Fitzpatrick when you think that he's the ranch hand from The Affair. Because they kind of look alike, but it's they kind of carry themselves the same way. You're not watching The Affair?
I'm not.
Oh.
You know what? I'll tell you what.
There was a boner on The Affair last night, or as my son would call it, bonus.
Oh, my God.
They showed a bonus. It was in the old guy's pants. It's a big bonus. It was like, whoa, come on, Showtime.
This is what you watched instead of
I didn't feel good
baseball?
about it. I didn't want to see a bonus at 11:45 at night.
Wow. I realized the other day that I can't have it both ways. I can't say that I hate that a third of the league, the starting quarterbacks, don't belong in the league, and then go to bed and pray that Tom Brady gets hit by a tractor trailer. I can't have that. I appreciate Tom Brady now.
Oh.
I do. I think whether he plays 3 or 10 years, it's going to be sad when he's gone.
No, it's fine. You're gonna have games where 12 of the 13 most important calls go against you. It's gonna happen. It's football. But you just call it just blatant touch pass interferences and hands to the face that don't get called when it's the other team. Like that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Look. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, the Goodell finally won his appeal with the Brady thing last night.
The
danger with the old podcast was like I really got in trouble. The one I went on when I was in ESPN in 2009, and he ends up in a whole thing about what it would be like if your daughter was in a Bukkake film, and would that be the worst case scenario for your daughter, or was it like some other scenario?
Really?
And he's like, I really think it would be just if somebody just over and over, money shots over and over again, like just a series of that. And I'm just sitting there going like, I'm gonna get fired.
The mouse didn't go for that.
They weren't happy. They were not happy with that.
Well,
I actually was not allowed to go on his podcast anymore. My son likes Odell Beckham.
Oh, that's not good.
The one-handed catches. Somebody at school was showing on some. They got on the YouTube and they were showing catches, and he got excited. And then he was watching football with me yesterday, and Odell made a one-handed catch.
Could have easily been two hands, but yeah.
So then we were sitting here and he's like, I want to catch one. So I'm throwing him catches, trying to catch one. And I'm like, oh no,
I've gone through the same thing. Yeah, it's bad. But you know what? Other players now make one-handed catches, and that's what you have to do. You have to see them like, oh, look, this guy did it too. DeAndre Hopkins did it. And, Michael Crabtree grabbed one with one hand. You have to find that and shove that down his throat.
Well, you know what I did? I ended up, I fixed it.
What'd you do?
My son loves Michael Jackson. I told him Odell Beckham killed Michael Jackson.
That's good.
So now he thinks. So now he's kind of out on him.
He killed him. He took the white glove off, and that's how he's making all these catches.
I said, Ben, you know what Odell did. It's like, what?
That's good.
He murdered Michael Jackson.
Excellent.
My friend Brian Curtis, who used to write for Grantland, we always send each other back when we hear sideline reporters ask just terrible questions. And Michelle Tafoya, who's usually pretty good, gives this one to one of the Pats last night in the postgame. To stop that 2-game losing streak, that was a big thing for you guys, right? It's got to end.
Nope.
No, actually, Michelle, not a big thing at all. It wasn't. It's just got to end. The dumb questions have to end.
Right. By the way, if you don't want to watch this Monday game, there's other stuff you could be watching.
Really?
Yeah, I found
what is that.
Well, it's not a clever title, and it only streams at Best Buy on the Best Buy TVs. That's the only place you can watch this one. You have to actually be in the Best Buy.
You have to buy a Best Buy TV and stream it on the Best Buy TV?
No, you have to be in the Best Buy store.
In the Best Buy.
You know how they show things that you would never be able to get on
It's an
your
exclusive
TV?
to Best Buy.
Yeah,
okay. What is it?
It's not a great title. It's called Bail Bonds, and it's Christian Bale and Barry Bonds, and they take steroids and scream at people who try to bail their loved ones
So it's a
out.
shorter show. It's a digital series.
Yeah, it's a reality show.
Bail Bonds.
Yeah, Bail Bonds.
I like it.
Yeah.
The Giants fans are listening, and they're very confident they can shut down Ted Ginn, Jericho Cotchery, and
this is it.
Greg Olsen.
Carolina goes undefeated for the regular season if they don't lose this.
They're having fun.
Olsen needs to come back, though. They need that guy. He was banged up.
Cam, what would it mean for you to go to undefeated? I'm just coming up with sideline reporter questions.
I see. Yeah. I like that. Oh,
Cam, what does 14-0 mean to you?
You know what I heard a good thing? Let's get to it now because Cards Eagles, and I was just gonna say I love that Carson Palmer is just like he throws downfield like he has guys in his face. He's throwing downfield is really good. And then I heard Phil Simms say he's a great thrower of the football.
He said that?
He's a great thrower of the football.
What does that mean?
Bill, you're a great eater of that bagel. Did you know that?